Hello everybody, and welcome to the Jake's LC Stuff channel. And as you can tell, the Maiden that I did a few days ago on the multiplex easy glider didn't go very well. It took off, it was brilliant. I started getting the nostalgia feels very quickly, but from launch to in the ground was about 20 seconds. It was quite windy, so it was sort of hovering there about half throttle. I gave a bit of oomph to while I sort of sat down, so it wasn't sort of wibbling around in the wind. A bit of headway will keep it nice and straight. I sit down, I put the goggles on, and pretty much immediately it starts going into a left-hand spiral, and just spiral, hit the floor. At no point did my TBS through my Radio Master, TBS Crossfire for Radio Master TX16. Here it is. At no point did that say RSSI low, RSSI critical, anything like that. Just nothing. And what's slightly weird in the video is that the motor keeps going for a few sort of seconds after it started the dive. When we got to it, it was still plugged in because the battery, because it's got this stuff at the front, it can't really slide out. Brand new battery with a bit of a kink to it. When I got to it, it was all powered up, but nothing worked. You could hear all the servos buzzing, and what was strange is it had full left rudder, full up elevator, and both ailerons were up, which was slightly strange. Did a few tests with it. I will say that there are a few new things with this. It's the first time I've used a diversity receiver on this set of frequency. I never used the one on R9. I bought one but never flew playing with it. And this is the first model I put on Crossfire, even though I didn't get to fly it until now. And also this is the first time I've used this frequency with 1.2, 1.3. Now I do know that there are some issues because this is 868 or whatever it is, and it's very close to 1.2. But normally the problem is with video. So my video was perfect, and I had the TBS notch filter on my video goggles. But yeah, couldn't figure out what's wrong with it. I went and flew another plane, my Dart 250, which is TBS still, TBS Crossfire, but runs 5.8. That was fine. It has its own issues, but it was fine. So, after this, I decided to have a go with my Drift, Zero HD Drift, which is another plane, the one of only two that I have that has one of these, but it's not a diversity, it's just a single aerial, and 1.3. And I would say the distance between the two, you've got to imagine that's, it's about the same. It's possibly slightly actually longer on the Drift. I don't have the Drift up here at the moment. And the Drift is sort of behind the body slightly, so sort of directly out of the antenna's way a little bit. But I flew that, and I got to, considering this is a long range system that I've seen people get, 30 odd kilometers out of, if not more, I got to 1.2 kilometers and started getting RSSI low. And then by 1.3 I was on RSSI critical. I turned around and came back. So 1.3 kilometers is not great. And to test it afterwards, I actually flew the Wing Z84, which, can I just say, is it's like the best FPV plane I've had in a long time now. Super excited about it. I'll do a separate video on it, of course, but that is a fantastic plane. And that, on its maiden flight, I went to 2.5 kilometers without breaking a sweat. I turned around just because I'd proven that the system was working all right for range, and some other things. Since I've had it back on the bench, I've tried using the screen on the back. I've got the one with the screen on the back to see like noise floors and things like that. Like locked it at 10 milliwatts. It was on dynamic power mode. I'll get through a few things that I think are going to change. It was on dynamic power mode, but it was all the way up at 500 when it landed, or when I went to pick this up. And it was also when I was flying the Drift. I had to peel the goggles off and had a quick look on the way back. Where was I going with that? But no, the Z84 could do 2.5 kilometers, didn't break a sweat. That was on 5.8 again. So again, that could do fine. This is the second or third thing that I've had recently, and this is what frustrates me a lot, where I feel like I'm the only person in the world having this issue when you Google it. Like this, I Googled it, and there's people having video issues. My video is fine. I have the notch filter. The video stuff is fine. But nobody seemingly has complained previously about the TBS just kicking out in a weird way where it doesn't even warn me or anything. And I've done stuff where I've had this not plugged in and plugged in, and the RSI levels are the same. What I'm going to do quickly, you're going to just have to look at the table for a second. I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to show you.
Welcome to OpenTX.
What I'm getting.
Throttle warning. Engine disabled. Spoiler down.
What I'm getting. So I'm just going to quickly go into. Yeah. So the way I have it set up is it's open region, it's 868 megahertz, and it had dynamic power, and it will just go to its maximum power level, which I think is 500. I've been told that dynamic power is probably not a good idea, so I'm probably going to have that off and just set it to a set volume or a set power level. Another thing that I did have slightly wrong is that I had the antenna flat like this. You should really have it like this, but this model has, because it's got the diversity, it's got an aerial up and down and an aerial left and right. So that in theory shouldn't matter. It should have just chosen whichever aerial was better. And then, you know, in the same orientation, I was able to fly 3 planes fine. Well, you know, certainly they got further, and that's how I've always had that aerial. And same on the R9, I always had the aerial flat, which I know is now wrong, but shush. So yeah, if I show you the bottom now and make sure the safety switch is on, yes it is, so that the motor won't start. So here's the settings for now. We're going to go over to uplink. Now you see that was different to before. I understand the radio is like practically next to each other, which is possibly not a good idea. But they're the levels. So link quality is 300. That's the noise floor. I'm fairly sure if I go into these graphs. Like as long as you're above 40, which this is, it's fine. 0, you're on borderline, and -10, you're dead, basically, from my understanding. Now, if I plug in the video transmitter and put the video transmitter roughly on the plane where it was, because at the minute it doesn't latch in because that whole top piece has got ripped off. Right, and just confirm that it's on, yes. And if we look here, as you can tell, that's absolutely fine. Now, you do lose a little bit. I mean, if I try and... Yeah, so you can see there is some noise. But as far as I'm concerned, it's nowhere near you're going to die, you're going to die. Yeah, that's still very much flyable. Link quality is still at 300%. And I've tried this outside. I know I'm doing it like directly next to each other, but I've tried it outside in different scenarios, and it's the same. It doesn't really make much difference at all. So the main 2 things that people suggested when I mentioned the issue on a couple of Facebook groups is get rid of the selectable power mode, which I don't mind doing.
Telemetry lost.
There we go. Open, wipe that up. So yeah, I've turned that off. The other thing is they said to have your antennas about 800 mil away from each other, so that's 80 centimetres. You can work that out, what's that, 30 odd inches. So I might give that a try on another one of these. I think what I'm going to do is, as I say, I've got the antenna direction changed, I've got the maximum power thing changed. I think I'm going to fly the drift, because the drift's autopilot works fine and everything on iNav. I flew iNav and enjoyed it. Because that's going to be working all right. I'm going to use that as a test bed for now. I need to make sure the failsafe works on it. But other than that, I'm going to use it as a test bed. If I can't get any further than that 1.2 kilometers, I'm gonna take a servo extension lead with me, a really long one, and I'm going to unplug the receiver, plug in this long extension lead, and just tape the receiver up on the fin. So the receiver on that is the transmitter, video transmitter is all the way at the front, and I can then have the receiver for the radio signals all the way at the back, as far apart as I can get them, and we'll see if that improved range at all. Because I say, at 500 milliwatts, I should be getting more than 1.2 kilometers. And this has got to be receiver end. But yeah, what am I going to do with this Easy Glider? It's a bit of a pain, really, and there's multiple sort of pain points with this. So if we just focus on the canopy for a second, these 180-degree servos from Hobby King, the arms on them are crap. They always, this was a fairly big whack, to be fair, but they seem to break very easily anyway. So I need to find a new arm for that, and they include arms. Oh, it's just a pain in the arse, really. This camera was a nightmare. That's why there's tape in here, because it kept coming undone. This connection here. So I'll be honest with you. I think I'm going to get rid of the Runcam split and just put a Runcam Swift on here. I also think I'm going to get rid of the 1.3 just for safety reasons, and we're going to put just any old 5.8 on there. One of the cheapo 600 milliwatt ones or something like that, which I can obviously knock down. Have that on here with just a clover leaf. It's probably best when I'm going to be flying around this anyway. I have a similar setup on a Hobby King BFG, and that's fine. In terms of repairing the plane, this thankfully hasn't really been crushed. I think this was more just yanked. Instead of it being pushed in, it was yanked as the wing came off, because I guess the wing technically hit the ground first. I've decided, just in case it's something to do with these aerials being so close together, I'm going to take this out and I'm going to put just a single one antenna, just a regular nano SE instead of the diverse. Take that out, and I'll be honest with you, I actually went on Hobby King and I was going to buy a Bixler and chuck the majority of this stuff in a Bixler at 1.1, because I can crash the hell out of that and it'll just be glued back together and be fine while I rule out what's the problem part. But they don't have any in stock. The only ones they have in stock are in the European warehouse. It's just the kit. I wanted the plug and play one in the UK ideally. I was just going to buy that. I didn't care how much it was. Also, I wanted something that can take a few whacks, and the Bixler certainly can. A lot more than the AXN. Anyway, in terms of repairing this, what am I going to do? Well, I'm fairly lucky in this side. There's a crease here, but otherwise that's about it, and there's like a crack across there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to take everything out of this front section, because the problem is where this is sort of squished together instead of snapping. I'm going to take everything out of here: servos, motor, speed controller, S-bus decoder. It could be the S-bus decoder that's at fault, but if I used these before, they'd been fine. And also the fact that I then went and had an issue with the drift, which just has a nano SE, so not a diversity, a single antenna going into a Maytech, whatever it is. Yeah, it's a bit weird. So what I think I'm going to do in terms of repairing this is I'm going to glue this side this isn't like squished at all. So I'm going to glue that back together. Just glue this on, glue that on, and then with hot water try and mold this to the shape of the canopy, because again the canopy is not damaged. I'm going to take the camera and the video transmitter off before I do that, just so they can't get wet, but the servo will be alright. But yeah, again, it was a case of, because I think because I'm new to the TBS stuff as well, which didn't help. I didn't look and see, you know, was I getting packet lost? So if I wasn't getting packets lost, then that means it's a faulty receiver because it's not sending the information out, or it's a faulty S bus decoder. We could look into that. Again, I think trying to decide what to do. Maybe I should. Because another option would be put an easy UHF receiver here, and then have the video transmitter here. That's how I had it on the old one. On my third one, I had the video transmitter back here, and then 35 megs back then. So 35 meg receiver with a big long aerial at the back, about 4 meter long aerial. Yeah, this pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie, it's a ball ache, but it will fly again eventually. I think though it is going to be a case of especially because it's in, you know, fairly big pieces, so I'm not going to be afraid of stuff getting lost. I've already lost one of these servo arms. I think this may be a case of it goes on the shelf for a while until I can bear to look at it again. Another problem that we've got is where these plastic tubes come down, they've sort of snapped and bent. This isn't as bad as it was because I've tried to, but you can see how it's, wee! I've lost the servo arm because I took it off to stop stressing the servo. But problems of, one, how am I going to strengthen this out, and two, when I glue this back together, because all this plastic piping is split, as you can see, there's going to be glue that gets in that and knackers it up. So I might end up having to do what I did fairly early on my other one, which is cut a hole and stick the servo in here, and then use the channel that was for the control rod to bring the servo lead back to the front. Again, it is a pisser. I might take that camera off there, just so it's not dangling around. I'll set you there when I finish up. And then, as I say, basically put the canopy on it and put it in the shed until I can bear to look at it. I'm repairing an S1100 that broke yonks ago, and that was a similar sort of thing. Problem is with that is I have lost some of the smaller bits because it hit a wall, so it kind of exploded a bit more than this one did. Although you see that one snapped a lot but didn't squidge foam, whereas this squidged foam instead of breaking. It's for actually repairing it, I think breaking is better at this point. You always use a bit of bit of Gorilla Glue to fill in the holes, whereas that's a bit more beyond Gorilla Glue. But yeah, that was this update video on what's gone on with the Easy Glider. Hope you reveled in the pain with me. We will fly again, as I say. It might just be sat in the shed for a few months while I cry, basically. But anyway, if you're enjoying my pain, please click the like button. Subscribe if you're new and you want to see some more of this. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below. If you've heard of anybody having range issues with 1.3, let me know, so at least I know I'm not the only one. I can feel a little bit better that way. But other than that, this has left me in a bit of a weird position, because I don't want it to be a case of, oh, you want to use 5.8? Well, you can choose either, to be fair with that. But, you know, if you want to use 1.3 and go absolute maximum miles, you want to use these UHF. One of the reasons I got this is because I had some issues with range on Easy UHF. When I say issues with range, still miles and miles and miles, but trying to push past those miles. And antennas and issues binding and all sorts of things. The idea is that Easy UHF was basically going to be the sort of use what I have until they all break or die, and then everything be Crossfire or whatever. But yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare thing. It just means that 1.3 or 1.2 or whatever you want to call it might just have to be on the bigger stuff. Because it pulls into question as well. I was going to use 1.3 on the Funjet and the Mini Drac, and they were both going to have iNav in, because iNav now works. You know, if the flight had gone well, which it has done. But now it's like, oh, you sort the flight controller out. Now you need to question, what either radio system or FPV system you're going to put in here. I think it has to be Crossfire just because of space, which means it's probably then going to be video 5.8. But the thing is 5.8 video transmitters, I don't have that much experience with. I've really only ever used, since I came back to 5.8, the cheapo ones from Banggood. So I need to have a look at some of the more advanced ones that people like. There's the, what was it called? It's on my phone. I'm recording this on my phone, so I can't see. Grip FPV, something FPV. There's like a 1.6 kilowatt one. I've had the AKK ones. One of those is in the Dart XL. But they get so hot that they're a bit of a nightmare. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling because I'm boring myself, never mind you. But I'll see you all some other time. Bye-bye.